our lesson today. The subject assessment of learning 1. You are now in lesson 5, titled Traditional Assessment Tools. And my full name, for those who have not yet met it personally or online, that is my full name. Doctor of Education, Doctor of Business, also a licensed professional teacher, and given my credentials, we're going to our learning outcomes. These are the competencies that are intended for all the students or learners today. I will let you responsible for the learning outcomes. In reading the learning outcomes, we have 5. And at the end of the topic, hopefully, these are the things that you can be capable of doing. Example, you may now identify and describe those common traditional assessment methods pwedeng gamitin sa ating mga classrooms like the MC, or the multiple choice, true or false items, matching type, short answer, and the ESC examinations. Up to number 5, example, you may now evaluate the strengths and limitations, disadvantages of those traditional assessment tools. These are the topics. We have 7 topics, 7 major topics, but along the way we have like subtopics. These are our to-do list for this morning, for today. So hopefully you can stay until the end of the presentation. Around an hour or 1.5. Understanding traditional assessment, exploring the significance of traditional assessment natin mga first lesson. May mga nakagisnan, especially sa aming mga ahead in age, mga traditional assessment na still now they play vital role. Nagagaan pa rin natin to mga to, no? In evaluating the performance of the students, of the learners from various settings. Yan ay basic education, junior high school, tertiary. Yan. So ito yung manakana natin ngayon sa ating presentation now. We're going to dive into those tools. We're going to discuss its type, advantages, limitations, bakit sila effective, bakit hindi sila effective sa ating mga classroom settings. Yung mga traditional assessment tools na ginagamit natin, like ladaanan nyo naman to, di ba? Like the test, quizzes, the MC, the short. Ito mga primary tools that you're going to use to evaluate yung recall, comprehension, understanding ng mga students natin. Whether it is a large group, small groups. Kasi yung mga tools na that can provide example, clear basic knowledge. Of course, they have limitations then because sometimes they often fall short in assessing especially mga higher order skills. Ito kasi mga multiple choice, for example, di ba? They are just memorizing or understanding. So they are short in measuring, for example, the higher order skills like critical thinking. Example, of course, true or false. You can't measure there the critical thinking, creativity, kasi they are focusing on memorization rather than sample application. Because the rules of traditional example of quizzes natin is to provide a standardized benchmark for the knowledge, foundational knowledge of memorization, understanding. So they are limited, na? They are limited if they can't show here. I mean, mga learners na, the learners can show here the traditional quizzes, yung mga pwede pang gawin aside from memorizing. So, meron pa rin siyang limitation, but still, we have been using the traditional assessment tools. And defining traditional assessment tools, anong gamit neto? As I was saying, it can be used to gauge in knowledge, skills, proficiency. Although for the past several years, itong mga quizzes have evolved. For example, dati pen and paper ginagamit natin, but later on, we have been using apps to check yung mga multiple choice. Hindi ka na mahirapan, you know. I have been using this one, the multiple choice. Dati, when I was first entered the academy 25 years ago, minimal checking, But now, I've been using Quizit. Yung apps na lang, i-scan mo na lang, then automatically, it will check yung multiple choice. Multiple choice lang yan. For quizzes, traditional. Okay, but still vital, no? Ayun. If you just want to check, evaluate the memorization skills ng mga estudyante, yan. That is still relevant today. But as I said, hindi na sa pwedeng gamitin, for example, critical thinking, creativity. So, for example, sa mga teachers tulad natin, summative assessment, we have discussed this last time. Summative is given after the semester, after the school year. One of the most powerful tools na pwede nating gamitin itong assessment. We are using, gagamitin natin ito at the end of the learning period. Isang SEM, isang term, midterm, finals. Ayan. Malaman natin if we understand yung mga lessons. So, the primary purpose of this one, example, yung mga true or false natin is to evaluate kung talagang yung learning outcomes, example, meron kang learning outcomes nakalagay doon. The students can define the meaning of basic marketing. That is the learning outcomes. Now, pag binigay mo sa test, sa quiz ito, like identification or short answer, at nasagot nila kung ano yung dinedefine, so yung learning outcomes mo have been achieved. Kasi na-memorize nila. So yun pala yung meaning ng marketing or accounting or entrepreneurship. Yan. So parang meron ka dito snapshot of students' knowledge and skills that, of course, it can contribute to the final grades. And for the school administrator, yung traditional assessment, they can use this to gauge, to measure the effectiveness ng kanilang teaching methods. Kung doon pa lang hindi na alam ng estudyante yung definition, so there's something wrong. definition na nga lang, di ba? Memorization na nga lang, di ba? Di pa masagot ng ating mga students. So, there's something wrong in the teaching methods na binibigyan ng isang teacher, isang professor. Okay, so moving on. So, common traditional assessment tools na ginagamit pa rin natin ngayon. Ginagamit ko pa rin ngayon. Of course, the multiple choice, the MC. As I said, ito yung madalas na ito yung kasagutan nyo sa board exam. I mentioned this before, 150 for professional education, 150 for general education, another 150 for your specialization. So all in all, you have 450. Multiple choice. Even strategically, may mga multiple choice siyempre na mabilis, madali lang. They just define something, then meron kang choices, what is the term being defined. Or pwede naman siyang filling the blanks. Or pwede naman siyang a longer phrases or sentences. Example, statement 1, statement 2. Statement 1 is correct. Letter A, statement 1 is correct. Letter B, both statements are correct. Letter C, both statements are incorrect. Yung mga medyo nakakalito sa no? So, hindi lang siya understanding, but meron siyang halong at least critical thinking. So, pwede mong gawin yan. Ginagawa ko yan, medyo mahahabang mga multiple choice. Mag-iisip sila. Kasi ang multiple choice din, ay kasama na rin diyang true or false. Because if they will read one statement, mag-iisip na rin sila, ito ba'y tama or mali? Is this true or false? So, eliminated this is choices. Mga mahabang mga phrases sa multiple choice ay kasama na sa true or false. Kasi pinapaghiwa-hiwalay mo na eh. Then, true or false simple format. We know may mga simple format like the basic true or false. I'm just going to answer true or false. Meron mang modified true or false wherein the answer is false. You have to choose the word that makes the statement false. So sa mga students ko after an exam, yung mga true or false pinapasagutan ko sa kanila. Example, if the answer is false, you explain why is it false. So, hindi lang ito yung pagsagot, kundi they should know what are the reasons behind bakit false. Okay, so sometimes we should avoid the patterns sa false example. Kita pwede magbigay ng lahat na answer ay true. Of course, for us, if you want convenience in checking para madaling checkan, yung mga sagot ay puro true. Or on the other hand, yung mga sagot ay puro false. Para nga sa atin, on our end, we can have an easier time checking mga sagot ng mga students. But on their side, if they are aware or they have known na mayroon palang pattern, For example, hindi rin pwedeng true, false, true, false, true, false. Kasi pag nakita nila yung pattern, pag nakuha nila, if they got the pattern, pwede na pinag-iisipan kung true or false. Dire-diretso ang sagot nila. Or hindi rin pwedeng basta sometimes, pag nakuha yung pattern, example, 1, 2, 3 false, 4, 5, 6 true, 7, 8, 9 false. Yung by threes sometimes, buhan lang eh. For example, when I was new in the academy, 20 or 25 years ago, maybe year 2000. So, sabi ko dati para I have an easier time checking the the papers of the students. Ang gagawin ko na lang, yung salitan. O, nagtanong isang estudyante, "Sir, anong pinakamarami na nasagot? True or false?" Absent-mindedly, sabi ko sa kanya, pinakamaraming sagot ay false. Sinagutan niya yung kanyang papel, lahat ay false. Pasado nga naman siya doon kasi more than half ay tama. Kapag kalahati, ang nakuha mo, pasado. Ang ginawa nila. Ay, ibagin ako sa academe nun, parang ay, o nga na naisana ko na isang estudyante yan Ayan, so, pwede patterns. Short answer naman, ito yung mga identification, yung mga may filling the blanks na. So, MC or false, filling the blanks. Yung bang mas okay naman to kaysa multiple choice. Dito man kasi brief response to gauge specific knowledge na gusto mong malaman kung talagang alam niyo yung sagot. Sa multiple choice kasi, kahit hindi nila alam yung sagot, pero mayroon silang choices na 4, bigla nilang maalala, ito nga pala yun. Pero pag filling the blanks or short answer binigay mo, you will measure here kung talagang may recall dun sa terminology o sa isang sentence o isang phrase. Kasi maalala talaga niyan, Kasi essay naman, in-depth, this one is also traditional but subjective type. In-depth exploration of complex topics. Ito medyo higher, higher. Hindi na lang siya memorization. Hindi na lang siya understanding. Kasama ng analysis or application. For example, if you're going to have an essay and you want to know if a student can apply a basic concept. Example, yung customer service. Customer service is always right. At customer is always right. Customer is the king. And they will argue, they are in favor of this phrase like, the customer is always king, is king. So, give a scenario and illustration, personal experience. You can relate the concept of customer is king. Sa bahay nila, di ba? Personal experience like example business math or percentage. Are you going to apply the concept of fraction? Paghatian ng example pizza, ayan, fraction sa essay, of course, aside from you have the content, can recall the content, the idea. Maganda rin yung kasama din dito yung knowledge about writing, grammar, di ba? Punctuation, sentence construction, organization, writing, conventions. Kasi mga estudyante hindi are just writing dire-diretso. There are also students who have remember that in writing there should be at least 3 paragraphs like the introduction, the body, and the concluding paragraph. Yeah, so you can also measure gauge if they can recall some concepts in other subjects like English. Okay, so moving on. Oral assessment naman tayo. Writing. Sabi ni Gardner, there are students that are rhetorical, good in oral examinations, they're good in writing. So pwede mo siyang not always interview, but there are lessons that can be done using an interview. Example, in customer service, example, the subject is ABM, business. You will try to sell something to the customers, to the client, or HR management. Example, you are the owner of one company and you are going to interview yung mga aplikante mo. Yan. But you can present the interview not always for hiring, but example, you are presenting something or is discussing something, then you are involved in conversation one-on-one. Assess the knowledge, no? Para sa talk show format. Ayan, if I have classes, I will not require them always to do oral reporting. I will tell them, you do the reporting in a talk show format. Not always reporting, talk show format. Para merong Q&A part. No? That's why when I conduct the discussion, talagang one student can spend the whole time interviewing. I will interview them. Sabi ko, if you are reciting, you treat the recitation as interview. I am the interviewer and you are the interviewee. So that when you enter your first job and you do the interview, basic na lang siya. And of course, you can also do the kaya nga, I don't remove the reporting part as part of the assessment sa klase kasi that is one way evaluating the communication skills ng mga estudyante natin. Talagang formal. I will require them to properly dress and be professional, PowerPoint presentation. Yung parang I will require them to have as if they are presenting in a webinar na meron pa games, may Q&A. Kasi later on, if they will become businessmen, businesswomen, they'll be presenting their products sa mga client or mga customers. Okay, it is the Viral Voce, assessing knowledge through oral examinations. So, ginagamit natin yung Viva Voce example. You want to examine a significant part of the syllabus. And if you want your students to feel, to think on their feet and you want them to express themselves meaningfully, yan, Viva Voce pwede natin gamitin. If you want your students to demonstrate their ability to reflect and think critically in real time. Example, recitation, diba? I will give a scenario. I will call somebody about the scenario. Well, sometimes nagbibigay ako ng prize example kay hindi, Choco. At ang mag-recite ay Choco. Yan. Kasi nga, the Viva Voce, we can use this one if you want to check yung mga deeper, mga in-depth learn ng mga estudyante natin. Like interactive dialogue between the students and the examiner, the students and their classmates. In-depth na tayo. Example, pag sa memorization kasi, alam nila yung they know the meaning, but what is the deeper knowledge, skills behind? Hindi siya deep presenting. Kaya pag nag-interview tayo, pag nag-research, aside from the questionnaire, we should also interview yung mga respondents natin. You know what is the reason behind sa mga sagot? Kasi pag survey, they will just check something. They will just check boxes, but you don't know the reason behind the choices. So we should assess the in-depth knowledge sa mga learners examples. Okay, so we have here the practical exams. Siyempre may mga teachers dito na sa physical education, chemistry, na. So we can use practical exam if we need example to assess the real world applications. Mga PE, hands-on skill, kumbaga, yung mga dance steps na tinuturo kung kaya nilang sundan. Or you want hands-on skills. Example, no? Dati, you're teaching keyboarding sa computer, then they will show you kung talagang they can type on a keyboard without looking at the keyboards. And, or sa college naman, sa university, no? Ito yung mga example, mga nursing students. Ito yung tawag silang return demo, di ba? Example, the clinical instructor will demonstrate example CPR. And after that, the students will return demo or they will do their own CPR. That is skills, di ba? Or problem solving. Of course, problem solving can be done not always on paper, but you can be done this through an activity. Example, team building, and you group them. Then, how are you going to solve? Pwedeng math to math concept sa grouping. Example, if they are basic education students, so they can division, for example, division by divide. Then you group them, then they will divide themselves. Sila mag-divide. So instead of numbers, so yung classmates ang di-divide nila. Or performance in a simulated work setting. So ito naman po mga example, I'm handling office management, then my simulation in an office environment. Yan. So not only memorization, but you should integrate yung theory sa practice. Pero that is pag basic science, pag mga college man, medicine trades, or arts, or if you are teaching art appreciation, and you are teaching example drawing, the perspective, you are teaching for example perspective sa art, no? Linear perspective or aerial perspective, and you will require students to draw a scene with aerial perspective or linear perspective, or for example the use of colors, no? Arts. Okay, so I'm moving on my slides. Practical exams, ayan sa mga high school naman, naranasan natin to, yung sa chemistry. We have been taught how to use the microscope. Biology yata to, no? If I can recall, yung aking teacher namin sa biology, ganun ginagawa. Yung parang mayroon siyang one group is in one table, then magbe-bell, then nilipat na naman sila. Parang rotation in using may sinisilip kami dun microscope. Okay, and ayan, sa physical education naman, this is common naman sa. And the advantages of traditional assessment tools, bakit still relevant yung mga tools, quizzes, multiple choice ngayon? Standardized kasi siya, no? Consistent format ensures fair evaluations. Kasi we have been using this quizzes standardized test for the longest time. Example, if you want to measure the skills of those students in 2015. So, ang ginamit mo doon, dapat din gamitin mo ngayon para may fair evaluation. So, siyempre, we can compare apple with orange, di ba? We should compare apple by apple, orange by orange. So, dapat standardize the same para fair evaluation. Grading is kasi objective naman ang quizzes, or pools are objectives, multiple choice objectives, short answers, no? Pero lang sa essays are subjective type So madaling i-measure pag objectives, quizzes, di ba? Chinechikan mo lang yan based on their answers. Pero sa traditional tools na like essay, we should be using rubrics. And the rubric should be shown to the students at the start of the essay. Para alam nila saan sila mini-measure. Like for example, you have 5 areas, di ba? Sa writing, example, in writing essay, organization, the content, the introduction, you check the introduction, the body, check of course, the grammar, the clarity, the format. Yung mga tinitingnan, those are the rubrics. So, hindi natin pwedeng hulaan yung mga essay. So, mayroon ko dapat na sinusunod na rubrics. Another advantage of traditional assessment tools, recognizable structure aids student understanding. Kaya nga sabi ko na, di ba, pag essay, the students now should understand yung criteria na kanilang susundan. Kasi minsan may mga essay na kung chinecheck, wala siyang opening paragraph, wala siyang body, wala conclusion. But at the start, doon pala may bawas na siya, di ba? But if you will roll out the criteria at the start, itong checkan natin dapat may intro, may body, may conclusion. So talagang gagawin nila yun. So they understand what are being measured from them sa mga essay nila. And broad application, useful across diverse educational context. So kahit anong subject na pwedeng gamitin natin yung essay. I have been handling like last sem I handled like 10 subjects. Ang 11 ng TCP, no? And of course, I can use lahat ng subjects ko, I could use multiple choice. Kasi pag nagpapa-exam, hindi lang dapat, dapat marami kang diverse na. Pag pen and paper yan. So, nagpapa-exam ako, lahat, I can use multiple choice. I can use true or false sa lahat ng mga subjects ko. I can use essay in all my subjects. Whether you are handling senior high school or tertiary or grad school, tulad nito, post-grad na mga programs. Cost-effective economical means of evaluating performance. Say, siyempre, you can just check, di ba? Ikaw ay mismo mag-check ka. So you don't have to hire somebody. You don't have to get the help of professionals to test. These are the advantages. So let's go to the limitations. We're not saying disadvantages, but limitations lang of traditional tools. Yes, assessment may favor a certain groups unfairly. May classmate ako dati nung high school eh. Magaling lang yung mag-memorize. Kaya mataas ang nakuha. So, ibig sabihin daw, pag multiple choice ang exam, so it will favor those who are good in memorizing. Kasi, we have classmates that are good in memorizing, good in social studies. Pero pagdating sa math, logical, mahina na sila. So, magaling mag-memorize, mataas makukuha dito. Pag sa essay naman, yung mahina mag-memorize, pero magaling sa writing, magaling sa English. Pabor naman sa kanila yung essay, di ba? Sa performance naman, may mga classmates kang mahina sa academics, pero pagdating sa example, performance, mga classmates tayong pag PE pumapasok kasi magaling sumayaw. Sa limitations, limited scope, many skills and abilities are overlooked entirely. For example, sabi natin, di ba, pag multiple choice lang, yung understanding lang ang ating kinukuha doon. Pero yung application, analysis, the creation, wala doon. And the root memorization, ito yung emphasis on memorizing over critical thinking. Ang root memorization kasi ito yung gumagamit ka ng learning techniques using repetition, like drills, flashcard, paulit-ulit, di ba? So if you want them to learn facts or formula or sequence, example, alphabet, paulit-ulit sa alphabet, paulit-ulit sa multiplication, tables, paulit-ulit sa dates. And that is rote memorization. The emphasis is on memorizing, not critical thinking. So pag pinagawa mo yung flashcard or drills or multiplication table or alphabet, memorize nila. Ang kulang doon, yung walang understanding, walang deeper understanding ng meaning or context. Kabisado lang nila. Automatic recall Right? Example, yung dates, no? Dates ng date ng important page in history. Discovery of the Philippines, March 16, 1521. Kabisado ng estudyante yan. But they don't know the deeper meaning. What is pag tinanong mo? Okay, March 16, 1521, the Philippines was discovered by Magellan. Kabisado lahat yan. But pag tinanong mo sila, what is the significance of the discovery of the Philippines on March 16, 1521? Para magtataas ang kamay. Ayan. So, hindi na reinforce yung analysis part doon sa memorization. Okay? So, may mga, may mga exam para dyan, di ba? Okay? Sa lack of creativity, may mga estudyanteng creative. Estudyante yung magaling sa pag-memorize. Of course, sa memorization, walang creativity. Pero pag pinagsulat ng essay, pag pinag-drawing, lumalabas ang kanilang creativity. Pag pinagawa ng video, lumalabas ang kanilang creativity. Pag pinagawa sila ng sample video presentation, poster using Canva, lumalabas ang creativity. Pero one time, sabi ko, in one of my classes before, pinakabisado ka sa lang preamble. Of course, that is just memorization. The preamble of the Philippine Constitution. Memorization lang yan . So, walang creativity. Then one of my students asked, Sir, pwede ko bang i-rap? Pwede ko bang i-rap yung preamble, not just reciting? Sabi ko, okay ito . Pag rapper siya . So, rap ang ginamit niya, rapping. Pag minres preamble, rapping, gano'n, para may tugtog, gano'n. So, parang he was able to inject creativity. So, hindi lang memorize ang ginamit niya. Ayun. Of course, mataas yung grade ng estudyanteng yun. I can recall ang pangalan, parang Nino. Matatandaan mo kasi, kasi mga creative yung pag-recite. Matatandaan mo. Nino pangalan that was maybe 2004. It was 21 years ago. In one of my subjects. And of course, the limitations, surface understanding, depth of knowledge may not be evaluated. Wala. Yung pag-analysis na do you know the date, they know who is the hero, example, sino yung national hero. So, Rizal, of course, di ba? Pero pag tinanong mo, critical thinking, bakit para siya ay national hero? Rizal. So, minsan, stop na sila doon. Walang deeper understanding. Okay, so, we're moving on. How to address the bias. Peer assessment. Firstly, peer assessment. Para matanggal yung bias. Implementing strategies ensures fairness in evaluation. But are we going to ensure fairness In evaluation, first, dapat establish in clear criteria na pag-objective. Kaya sabi ko kanina, di ba, it is important na meron rubrics pag pinagpapa-essay. Kasi nga, sa essay, pag wala kang criteria or rubrics na ginagamit, minsan, itong estudyante ito masipag. Asan to? Kaya minsan, ang ginagamit ko, single blind. Single blind check. Ibig sabihin, hindi ko alam kung sino yung estudyante yung sinecheckan ko. So, pag yan ay blue booklet ang kanilang ginagamit, so hindi ko tinitingnan yung cover ng blue booklet para hindi ko alam yung pangalan. Pag test paper naman ang ginagawa, o yung first part ng pangalan, upper part ng first page, tinutupi ko kasi na din yung pangalan eh. So, single blind. Hindi ko alam kung sino sinecheckan. But, use rubrics. The objective criteria dapat nandoon. So, another way how to address bias, for example, regular actionable feedback, estudyante, multiple assessment methods, multiple rater, pwede patsikan sa ibang mga teachers or system. So, kailan minsan nagpapacheck sa students, no? Para multiple rater. Tanggal yung bias. And of course, we should train the teachers, the evaluators on bias awareness. Dapat transparent yung process, no? Like calibration and appeal. You should be open to appeal from the students. No? So, pag mga teachers na kayo later on, may mga estudyante na magtatanong eh. Kahit yan ay senior high school or in the tertiary level. Pero mas marami nagtatanong sa senior high school. Pero bakit po ganito yung grade ko? So, dapat you should always be ready with your class records. Kasi may appeal talaga na mangyayari. Kahit university, para sa university, kunti lang. Hindi masyadong marami. Marami sa nag-a-appeal sa high school. Don't be afraid. Talagang, especially sa private schools, pag mga running for honor sila, talagang mayroong mag-a-appeal ng mga estudyante. So, don't be afraid kung complete naman mga records mo. Yun talagang grade, no? So, they should not compare. Pero bakit isang prof ganito? May academic freedom tayo. Hindi pwede yung grade ng isang prof, ganun din sa grade. May academic freedom, subjective. Judgment ang ginagamit yan. Walang dalawang professor o mag-teachers o magkakaparehas ng judgment. Beyond wrote, assessing deeper understanding of learned concepts. So aside from, kasi nga, nagkakaparehas na pag drills, station lang. Para maiba, di talanin mo sa para ma-break yung tie, yun mo deeper understanding nila ng learned subjects. Diyan magkakatalo eh. Kung parang magaling mag-memorize, parang magaling sa drill, parang magaling sa flashcards, o tanongin mo ng mga underlying questions. Medyo malalim, no? So, we're moving on. Motivation. Learner engagement. Engaged learners demonstrate a higher motivation levels. Ano is correct, no? Engage the students. Gusto yung word engagement ko, hindi ba? Pag mayroon mga pinopost, nakita mo ang daming engagement. Sabihin, your followers are engaging. Nag-comment, nag-yes, nag-share, nag-review, ini-play yung videos. Kasi mas motivated na students pag engage. And how are you going to make your students engage? So to boost the learner engagement, gawin natin mas active yung learning, mas relevant. Marami ka pwedeng gawing interactive elements. Sabi ko, di ba, mayroon akong if you want a copy of my interactive PowerPoints na ginagamit ko sa klase, yan. I can share the PowerPoint interactive games to. Okay, pag next year teacher na kayo. Oh, by the way guys, no, kalalabas lang last December 18 yung result ng board exam ng LET given last September. Pero wala pa ako mga estudyanteng doon. Kasi mga students ko started nung May lang eh. So maybe hindi pa sila nag-take ng board exam. Siguro mag-take sila next year pa. So wala pa nakitang estudyante doon eh. Siguro kayo, mga ka-handle ko, mag-take kayo March 2026. So that will be the time na aabangan ko na yung mga pangalan. Okay. So mas relevant siya pag meron kayong mga presentation like lively group discussion. Ginagawa minsan, nagpapagames muna ako sa start ng klase. Kumbaga, yung mga sa reporter for example, I require them to have an icebreaker, a game, a drill na related dun sa kanilang topic. One time ginawa ko yung parang can you recall yung Pera o Bayong sa isang TV show, yung bang pipila sila sa tamang sagot, sample sila 15, then A, B, C, D, pipila sila doon. Kung anong tamang sagot, letter A, doon sila pipila. Yan. Pero connected siya sa lesson. Hands-on activities yan. Real-world applications. So, some of my activities, kaya nga sometimes I require the student to shoot video, to interview. Example, one time the subject was about franchising, no? So, we're discussing the rentals, the cost of renting a space sa isang business. Kasi entrepreneurship yung subject, EBM. So, I assign them to different malls, and they will go to the mall and interview yung mga tenants doon, then ask them magkano yung upa sa pwesto nila sa isang mall. Ayan. Real world experience or hands-on activity. And of course, dapat supportive ng school, supportive ng faculty, and dapat may feedback. And use technology. Like, sa interview, so, para may proof sila, may documentation sa kanilang interview sa mga malls, so I ask them to shoot, to edit their videos. Mga 2 minutes lang naman, hindi masyadong matagal, mga 2 minutes video. Or they can use their skills in editing. Di ba? Kasi may mga groupmates doon, magaling mag-edit, so magandang different interest. Ay lalabas, magaling mag-video, may magaling sa interview, magaling magsalita. Yan. And of course, sometimes kita mo doon yung limitations. You'll discover there na may mga estudyante ka palang mayayain mag-interview. Hindi masyadong magaling magsalita. And of course, the feedback. Yan, meron tayong consultation time. So, pag teachers na kayo, meron kang consultation time. May oras talaga. Example, in the university, parang 3 hours per week are allotted to consultation. Yung feedbacking, no? Ibigay ng feedback sa mga estudyante. Pero minsan, may mga estudyante hindi pumupunta, ayaw alamin yung feedback sa kanila. Kapag bigay ng grade, bigla nang nabubulaga. Best practices. Line tools, assessment tools should match learning objectives. For example, this is going to have effective measurement, effective evaluation. Sabi dito, yung mga assessment natin, like project is an assessment, testing is an assessment. Pag yun ang ating, yun ang ating ginagamit, dapat we should directly measure yung skills and knowledge na nakalagay sa objective. Example, nakalagay sa objective is sa learning outcomes. You should be able to write a paragraph. For example, diba? Yan ang objective eh. So, ang assessment dyan na pwede mong gamitin, siyempre essay. Kasi writing eh. And example, the objective is, the verb is to analyze the difference between two variables. O hindi pwedeng hindi pwedeng multiple choice lang, di ba? Pwede dyan, essay ulit. Or pag yung objective mo is, or learning outcomes is apply for example, apply a concept of marketing. Example, apply the concept of packaging ng isang product. Kung hindi pwede multiple choice, dapat project ang papagawa mo dyan sa kanila. Parang dati, the subject was marketing. So, sabi ko, they should apply the concept of innovation. Ang pinagawa sa kanila, they have submitted an innovative product. A small product lang naman, hindi masyadong high. Small product na merong innovation. So para jive yung assessment doon sa objectives. Design an instrument, create valid instruments for reliable outcomes. Incorporate assessment, use formative and summative assessment. So while the class is ongoing, while the semester is ongoing, gumagamit tayo ng formative. Diba you can recall pag sabing formative, ito yung ginagawa natin while the course, the program is ongoing. Pag summative naman, ginagawa natin ito pagkatapos ng program o ng course. Ang mga best practice na pwede natin gamitin. Scope. Slide number 14. Ethical considerations in assessment practices and fairness, always be fair. Sabi ko, single blind. Pag nag-a-assist tayo, nag-checking, dapat hindi natin alam silang chine-checkan natin. Ensuring equal opportunities for all students. It's crucial. For example, how are we going to give fairness? Kasi nga pag fair, if they were given enough opportunity, equal opportunity, you will know that you will unlock the potential ng isang estudyante. Pag equal opportunity, unlock potential, yung kanilang societal inequality will be reduced, strengthen the economy through skilled workforce, foster social cohesion, and of course, diba, we are preparing them for the outside world after graduating from the university, from the school. Pag sa kasi, diba, example, one students are sa lower income bracket sa school. Yung mga malilit lang baon nila. Tapos hindi mo pagbibigyan ng equal opportunity sa testing or sa assessment, may tendency na yung kanyang potential hindi lalabas. Inequality pa rin sa loob ng room. Inequality na sa labas, inequality pa rin sa loob. Okay, so in summary, traditional assessment plays critical role in evaluating learning performance. Sabi kanina, di ba, why we are still using traditional kasi nga standardized ang test. Kaya pag nagtanong, di ba, standard ba ngayon? Sino mas magaling estudyante noon o estudyante ngayon? Gumagamit na sila, may mga AI na kasi ngayon eh. If you're giving assignment activity, halata mo, you will learn later on mga teachers na halata yung mga students na gumagamit ng AI sa kanilang activities. Kahit math problem yan, lahat kayang sagutin ng AI. Kahit paggawa ng presentation. But we can't avoid AI. We should know how to coexist. But AI should only be a tool. Hindi sa pwedeng talagang siyang gagawa para sa'yo. Kaya sa mga estudyante ko sa research, don't let AI do the research for you. Gamitin mo lang yung AI as a tool. Example, checking of grammar, checking of the content. Pero ikaw pa rin gagawa. Okay, so finding objective type test and their significance in assessment. Objective type, tayo yung mga multiple choice. You can measure, you can quantify yung mga sagot ng mga estudyante. No? The opposite is the subjective test. Like essay, because it rely on personal judgment. So, pwede mong gamitin to mga objective. Example, you are the HR. You can use this one, recruitment. I can recall, may napain ako dating work many years ago. Para maghapon ako, nag-exam doon, puro multiple choice, paulit-ulit. So, pwede gamitin to in testing, recruiting, examination, certification, training, evaluation. Para objective nga naman, di ba? But you're just measuring the knowledge and skills ng isang examinee. Ayan, so objective siya kasi nga, di ba? Answers can be easily graded. Pag nagmamadali ka, di ba? Multiple choice, madaling chikan kaysa nagpa-essay ka. Pwede ikaw ang mag-check. Pwedeng machine. Yun na, mga common natin we have mentioned before, earlier, no? The types of objective type, the multiple choice, the true or false. O pwede siyang hindi palagi yung filling the blank. Pwede siyang short answer, pwede siyang filling the blank. So pwede naman siyang dudugtungan. Example, multiple choice test item. It can be question or an incomplete statement, filling the blanks. Then, mamimili sila. Pwede rin siyang identification sa multiple choice. Pwede rin siyang situational. Kasi may mga multiple, sabi ko niya, may mga multiple choice na medyo mahaba ang phrases. No? Para they will be forced to analyze. May multiple choice naman na identification lang or filling the blanks lang. Question types, ayan, effective way. Ang MC, effective way to assess knowledge quickly. Kung gusto mong malaman kung talagang natatandaan yung terminology last time. Multiple choice. Diverse choices. Sa multiple choice, huwag masyadong marami. Mga 4 lang yung choices dyan. Masyadong marami. 4 is okay. 4 choices are ideal. Sa multiple choice, or true or false, simple format for quick assessment, simple checks for factual knowledge. Ang true or false, meron din analysis dyan, di ba? Nag-analyze din sila dyan. And matching questions, pay-related items for effective evaluation. Ito yung matching type, no? Hindi ko masyadong pinapagawang matching type kasi karamihan ko mga pieces are multiple choice. Connect related concepts for deeper understanding. Ito maganda sa matching questions. It saves space. Di masyadong maraming space ang kinakain. Diba? Hindi tulad ng true or false or multiple choice. Maraming space ang kinakain. Example, 2 pages ang multiple choice. No? Pero pag matching type, kalahating page lang, kaya na eh. If you are doing multiple choice, example ng mga techniques or tips, avoid confusion, ensure clear, sa multiple choice na ensure clear, phrasing in test, concise, specific in language. The goal is not to decipher complex language but to test students' knowledge. Dapat na question natin sa multiple choice, focus on one specific concept, avoid double barrel questions that use conjunctions like and. Straightforward, no? Huwag masyado gumamit ng mga word na and or isang questions. Kasi pag mayroong and or parang you're asking two questions at once. Dapat concise. That is a tip for clear phrasing, no? Mga test natin na gagamitin natin later on. Okay, so I'm moving to fill in the blanks. Oh. Useful for assessing a specific knowledge gaps. Ito yung medyo okay siya kasi you will test yung talagang kabisado na rin concept. Hindi lang isang word. Yes or no, simple format for direct knowledge evaluation, ordering. Ano bang pwede natin gawing mga exam sa ordering? Example pag sa marketing yan, you'll ask them what is the proper order of the 4 P's of marketing. So, siyempre dapat sunod-sunod, product, pricing, promotion, tapos place. Yan, no? Sunod-sunod. Ano naman, sa biology, family, kingdom, amang pag-asin sa biology, family, kingdom, phylum, ganun, di ba? Example lang yun. Hindi ko nakabisado yung sa sa biology or pag social studies naman, di ba? Pag susunod-sunod rin mo yung mga presidente, Emilio Aguinaldo, Manuel Quezon, di ba? Or mga dates naman, pag sunod-sunurin mo. Or pag sa English naman, ano pa yung pag sunod-sunurin? Ayan, alphabetical, di ba? Ordering. 19 common pitfalls sa objective type. Yan, 3 key wordings. Avoid confusion with clear phrasing. Ang pitfalls dito, yung 3 key wording, ambiguous or confusing words. Avoid confusion with clear phrasing. Another pitfall, double negative, simplify questions to enhance understanding. Another pitfall, implausible distractors, ensures options are credible and relevant. So dapat mga options parang sa board exam. Lahat ng choices are talagang connected doon sa tanong. So parang napakahirap mag-eliminate ng isang sagot kasi all are relevant and credible. Tanong, parang lahat ay tama eh. Patagwar sa board exam kung anong beneficial for the students, madalas yun ang tama. Kasi halos lahat ang tama. Pero the 3 are beneficial to the teachers. Piliin natin dun yung what is beneficial to the students. Chances are, yun ang tamang sagot. Kasi lahat ay credible. Ayan. So, gamit ng mga clear phrases, no? Concise, specific language. Huwag masyadong gumamit ng mga and or sa mga questions ninyo. Dapat connected yung mga choices. Yung questions dapat connected sa lesson. Kasi pag gumagawa ka ng question, siyempre nakabase sa syllabus yan. Kasi meron tayong TOS or yung na-discuss natin last time, the TOS or Table of Specifications. Yan, no? Ginagamit natin yan in constructing exams. How to avoid clarity. Questions should be easily understood by all the readers. Simple language ang gamitin natin. Huwag gumamit masyado ng mga words na complex. Hindi naman specific ang ating tinetesting. Mga questions, depende rin sa mga target audience natin. Mga level na mga natin, mga examinees natin. Siyempre, pag elementary, high school, tertiary level, iba-ibang ginagamit natin mga wordings. Depende na. And dapat clear din, clarity and unambiguity. Huwag masyadong confusing. What question daw should present a single, clearly formulated problem or idea. Huwag masyadong complex. Isang problem lang. Kaya nga sabi natin, huwag gumamit ng and or. Kasi pag ambiguous ang questions, baka mas interpret mga estudyante yan. Inaccurate ng assessment ng knowledge nila. Especially sa lower, mga basic education. Ang questions natin, since we are constructing questions nakabisan sa syllabus, naka-align sa learning objectives natin. So questions should directly reflect the learning outcomes or objectives. Kaya tayo nagtitest, di ba? Kasi meron tayong objectives, meron tayong learning outcomes na dapat corrected. That is relevance. Aligning questions. Learning outcomes, ensure questions reflect desired learning outcomes. Ayun na, so, naman to eh. Pag gumagawa ng questions, especially sa high school, no? Si-check naman yan ng program head kung yung iyong table of specifications or na-meet pag gumagawa ng exam. Pabis ka sa syllabus. Distribution, balance questions, difficulty across the test. Dapat ang test natin mix, no? May easy, may moderate, may difficult questions. Siyempre, inuuna natin mga easy questions like test 1 is the multiple choice, test 2 is the true or false. Tapos meron ka ng mga interpretation or essay bandang huli. Mas difficult na. Competencies, align questions with defined competencies or objectives required. So mga competencies na nakalatag sa iyong syllabus dapat incorporated sa questions. So bakit balance ang ating mga questions? Distribution, dapat balance. Reason sa example, para malaman natin, mga high-performing and moderate-performing. Kasi pag sa easy, pag puro easy ang tanong, hindi mo malaman doon yung talagang matalino. Pero pag naglagay ka ng mga difficult questions, doon magkakalaman. So you can now discriminate sinong high-performing, sinong moderate-performing, sinong low-performing ng mga estudyante. Lahat magaling test 1. Pagdating sa difficult part, na malabas talaga yung mga high performing. So you will know sino talaga yung magaling. And of course, may balancing tayo, motivation, engagement. It can discourage the students and reduce their self-efficacy. Pag yung test daw are too easy, it cannot challenge them to demonstrate higher level thinking. Sabi ng isang estudyante, dali naman ng test kasi puro easy. Nilalagyan natin ng difficult questions. Okay, how do we know the balance? O gamit ka ng Gamit ka ng blueprint. Or parang level. Gamit ka ng Bloom's taxonomy. Pag gumawa tayo ng exam, gamit ang Bloom's taxonomy. Mag-balance yan. Or gamit ang mixed questions type different levels of cognitive processing from basic recall. Meron tayong exam or test for recall, understanding, memorization, hanggang sa higher thinking like analysis and evaluation. Minsan mayroong pa-quiz, no? Magbigay ng picture, then they will analyze the picture. That is higher thinking skills, hindi lang puro multiple choice. Okay, so paggawa tayo ng mga multiple exam, for example, ordering questions from easiest to most difficult. Yan ang the best way, no? It will give the best result. Kasi pag mahirap na sa una, nahirapan si estudyante, syempre, it will not build confidence. Pero pag sa una ay madali, test 1, multiple choice, sobrang dali. Ginagawa ng estudyante, it builds confidence, no? Hanggang papahirap siya ng papahirap. But it's important, confident na sila sa test 1, marami silang tamang sagot. Tutuloy pa rin sila. Gaganahan pa rin silang sumagot. Advantage of objective type. Scoring source impartial evaluation, wala ka ditong bias kasi check, meron talagang sagot objective. Efficiency, quick scoring facilitates faster feedback cycles, mabilis chika ng ang multiple choice o yung sagot. Kinahapunan, example, no, pag yan ay Google form ang ginamit mo, nag-exam ka ng umaga, hapon, meron ng result. So, meron ng feedback. Di tulad ng essay na babasahin mo pa lahat. So, it will take you several days or 1 week before you can give the feedback to the students. Advantage, broad coverage, engage to diverse student content areas effectively. So, kaya sabi natin, di ba, lahat ng topic na natin sa isang SEM, isang prelim, dapat nanda doon kasi lahat dapat sa syllabus. At yung syllabus natin, yun ang tinuturo natin sa isang quarter, for example. Conclusion, understanding the risk of guessing, yun lang, no? Sa objective type, can present challenges, example, risk of guessing, hula-hula. Pag guessing, di pwedeng hulaan, pero pag multiple choice, diba? Pag nakuha na yung pattern mo, pag nalaman na yung pattern mo, na-alternate pala siya. True, false. Dire-diretso na, tumama na, tsambahan, di ba? Or pag multiple choice, hula-hula eh. Pero pag filling the blanks, di pwedeng hula. Talagang mag-iisip sila. Minsan, it can lead to inflated scores kahit mataas yung sagot, mataas yung nakuha sa exam, pero walang, it doesn't reflect knowledge. Hindi porke mataas ang nakuha sa multiple choice. May magaling. May magaling sa exam, pero pag sa recitation, mahina. Pag tinanong mo yung deeper knowledge about yung tamang sagot niya, hindi makasagot yung estudyante. Kasi superficial understanding, di ba? Yung kabisado nila yung date, pa rin sa significance of the date. Example, the date of the death of Ninoy Aquino, August 21, 1983. Recall, memorization. Pag tinanong mo mali sa significance, August 21, masasagot. Okay, those are my slides, the lessons for today. Hoping that you got something from my presentation. And once again, this has been Dr. Cortez. May request, pa-subscribe naman sa aking channel. Maraming salamat everyone. Bye.